Welcome to the Kelly Sullivan Walden Show, where we harness the power of dreams and the dreaming mind to create the lives we desire. I'm Dr. Dream, and on this show, I not only share my experience and expertise in the area of dreams, but I wrangle the best mind, body, spirit experts on the planet to not only help you stand on the shoulders of the great ones who came before you, but to help you maximize your time on the bridge between sleep and awake, the physical and the metaphysical, the holy and the guacamole, because that's where we do our best dreamifesting. What's dreamifesting, you ask? That's when we allow our nighttime dreams to do the heavy lifting to make our wildest waking dreams come true. I'm so passionate about this that I wrote a book about it, and it's coming out September 2025. So let's get to it, for as we are lifted, all are lifted. Welcome. Welcome to the show today. I'm so excited. I've got some of the featured speakers for the regional IASD conference that's coming up this Saturday, if you're watching or listening in real time. This will be in Whittier, California, where I grew up. Go Condors, go California High School in Whittier. And I'm really excited. I've been behind the scenes talking to some of these incredible beings about the conference. I first have to give a shout out to Lauren Z. Schneider, because she's the one who got me involved in the IASD. That's the International Association for the Study of Dreams. And she said, oh, you've got to meet these people. This is an amazing group. And I'm so glad I joined. So Lauren, thank you so much for your amazing work. And I'll have you speak in just a moment. But first, I want to introduce Jeff Nelson. He is kind of the captain of the ship. He's been spearheading this conference. You live in Whittier, California. This is your church. Tell us about what's coming up at the IASD Regional Conference this Saturday.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for having us all together today, too. This will be our 6th regional here in Southern California. And we have a very exciting program planned for our opening event. We're going to have 7 different dream workers all working the same dream. So anybody who shows up will get to see 7 perspectives on working with dreams, which I think is a wonderful opportunity, first of all. Secondly, it's a good display of the variety and the welcoming, the big tent sense of the IASD, that there are all kinds of ways of working with dreams, and they are all welcome in IASD as long as they are respectful of each other and of the dream workers themselves. So we're going to have that opening event, and then we will have 9 workshops throughout the day, going further and deeper into the concept of dreams and dreaming, and demonstrating various techniques of working with dreams. So it should be really exciting, not only if you're just interested in dreams, but particularly to see the deeper dimensions of dreams and dream work that IASD can present. So I'm excited about it, as is our whole group here.
I'm so excited. And your book is kind of the spiritual religious take on dreams. Is Dreaming in Church? What's the name of your book?
Yes, that's it. Dreaming in Church.
Yeah, it's a great title. So can you give us a little overview about that? Because I know some people, I don't know, there's a lot of people that have different perspectives on spirituality and religion, and it's a hot topic, but I really love your approach to it. So can you speak to that?
Sure.
For a second?
My training is as a spiritual director, and I see spiritual direction as the container into which I put dream work. And I go through a brief overview of dreams and the images that are in dreams. Then I give some biblical background. Where do we find dreams in the Bible, and how might we, what might our attitude be towards those biblical dream stories? Then I take a look at the history of the Christian church, and where dreams have shown up in a few times and places in that history. And then I give a good introduction on how to use your own dreams in your own spiritual growth as a Christian. my focus is on Christians because that's my training and my background. But there are ways in which dream work can be shown as a spiritual practice for almost any religion that you use. But for me, it's how might we grow closer to Christ as Christians through working with and understanding and exploring our dreams.
Oh, that speaks to my heart and soul so much. I've been joking lately saying, if you had been my pastor or my minister while I was in Whittier when I in my younger days, I would have been my life would have I don't know what I would have turned out like, but I guess I guess I, kind of spiraled out and went, I don't know. I just feel like having a minister like you that is so open-minded, and dreams kind of feed that open-mindedness just makes you an even better minister. So, or pastor. Thank you so much for spearheading this event, and I look forward to seeing you soon and hearing more from you in a second. But I'm going to bring on to the stage Lauren Z. Schneider, the one I was just talking about, dreams and therapy. This has been your area of expertise for quite a while. You've got an award-winning book on the topic of therapy. So some people are like, Kelly, are you speaking with an Irish accent? Therapy? What do you mean by therapy? So tell us a little bit about that.
I really like that with the Irish accent.
Yeah,
So,
Lauren, yeah, let's do it.
1983, I walked into a marriage and family therapy program, master's program, with tarot tucked in one pocket and the I Ching tucked in the other. That's an ancient book of wisdom by the Chinese. And during that previous summer, two strangers had handed me these divination tools and said the same thing, you're supposed to walk with it. I had no idea what I was handed, but I began to experiment. What happens if I apply psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, dream work to playing with these images? And I began to discover as I worked with people that I would get more information in one session than would take months to years of traditional psychotherapy. So I integrated therapy, which is what I call it, tarot therapy, into my professional practice as a psychotherapist. And now I consult and do individual consultations as well as trainings in therapy and dream work. It's quite amazing. I will say, Kelly, that my one disclaimer when I'm working with dreams and therapy is dreams are so rich. They are the poetry of the soul, as we say at this conference. And they have so many layers, personal, psychological, spiritual, collective. We are dreaming all the time about what's going on in our world. They're prophetic. I talk about them as the psychic internet. We can tap in when we're sleeping into everything that's going on and get as much information as if we were surfing on the web, because we're surfing on a world wide web of consciousness when we're dreaming. So there's so much information to gather from a dream. Why would I add more images with therapy? Why would I work dreams with
Right.
therapy? And very often, before I do a therapy session around a dream, I think, well, will this work? Because I could just work with
Mm,
the dream images, but it always does. There's
wow.
this correlation that happens as if there's this invisible mastermind. So if somebody comes in with a dream, I'll work with it, just the dream, and then I'll say, do you want further guidance on the dream? Let's invite therapy. And I'll ask them to just sit with the different elements of the dream, maybe name the different elements of the dream, a character, plot line, and create a map, a diagram of how many cards they need to look at, what's the meaning of each placement. And then I'll ask them to pick a deck out of my 50 different decks.
Ooh, is that
I'll
all?
shuffle
Wow.
and lay out cards randomly, thinking about this dream. And the amazing thing is, there is such a correlation that sometimes the dream images are exactly like the tarot images or
Wow.
card images. I know you have a dream deck, and did you create that out of listening to dreams?
Oh, yeah, all of it has been. I've got 7 oracle decks to thus far. The latest one is a wild dream animal oracle, and that one definitely came out of dreams. There were so many animal dreams, especially my wolves that have chased me for such a long time, and now they're my allies. So that's, yeah, they definitely came right out of dreams. I want to hear more about this. Where we'll get a chance to actually work a dream and have you give an example of the way you do this, your very special method. So hold tight. We'll get right back to you. And in the meantime, let me pull in Marilyn Manzi. Marilyn, hi, Marilyn. So good to see you. So Marilyn has, let me see, is a compassionate dream psychotherapist dedicated to transforming trauma into a renewed sense of pleasure and resilience through her dream psychotherapy approach. Dream psychotherapy is a modality to increase sleep quality, reduce long term psychological pain, and improve psychological functioning. Working with patients in private practice, Marilyn guides individuals on journeys that leverage the power of dreams, mythological storytelling, and intentional rituals. Oh, my heavens. You
Yeah.
are a goddess after my own heart. So tell us a little bit. I know I got a little bit of FOMO. We're talking at this conference about the wisdom and resilience because a lot of people, especially with the big fires in LA, everybody's been affected by the fires. So there's kind of an emphasis on trauma, but I heard you say something about wanting to bring in some pleasure. So that's a really good idea. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be talking about at the conference
Yeah.
this
So
Saturday.
just the history. I learned a lot about trauma when I was in Portland, Oregon, and the pandemic started, and there were riots, and we had a fire as well. I think it was like 1.2 acres of land. It was I think one of the most destructive fires in Oregon. So at one point, I was doing sessions with people where we had to be in a room with an air purifier. It was so intense outside. And so I had to learn how to be with the trauma of that, and then the aftermath of working with dreams, and then figuring out where the resilience was in working with dreams to help people not only feel restored, but also have a sense of how to move forward with all of the history of what we all went through. And through studying pleasure, I learned a lot about oxytocin and just that sense of feeling connection and feeling that sense of being present to what's happening and being able just to relax in your body. And so what I knew at that time I needed was really good sleep to be able to sustain myself through my private practice and the stress of life. And so if I could offer that to people who were some people were dealing with way more than I was dealing with. And so I just thought if I could help them sleep better and just have better quality of sleep, they're going to be able to show up for life and be able to handle the shocks that come their way. And so, with pleasure specifically, if you have a dream, let's just say I work with the myth of Psyche and Eros. And so, Eros, there's many stories, but this one is about Psyche becoming pregnant with pleasure. So, Eros returns, the relationship returns, and there's something restorative. What is like new consciousness? Psyche is about soul, and Aphrodite is, trying to have her basically die off. So Psyche tries to kill herself, and she's given all these unbelievable tasks. But every time she tries to self destruct, love reminds her that she needs to come back to life. And trauma can feel like that. And so, if we can have that experience in our dreams, we wake up with this kind of renewed sense of like, wait, there's something here. There's something that I can still bring out. And trauma may say, don't do it. It's too scary. Hold yourself back. But then this new consciousness that you've been working on internally all of a sudden can connect you externally to synchronicities, and then things just start to happen, and then there's glimmers of hope, and then you have a vision that pulls you out of a depression or pulls you out of whatever it was that was keeping you back. And so I saw that happen with a lot of people I was working with. And so I just wanted to understand the nitty gritty of what I was doing. So I spent a lot of time in San Francisco, a lot of weekends where I was just like, what am I doing? I did a lot of studying and I started to measure it. And then I looked at different cases and I was like, okay, this works, this works, this works. And then I put something together and then I started trying it. And then I saw it worked again. And so then people would come into my practice with really extreme psychological and physiological symptoms. And so if I could help them not have these nightmares or waking them up with heart palpitations or sweats, and I could see that they were actually waking up with, I had this dream last night where I felt really cared for. I felt loved. I felt like my body could just relax and I didn't have to do anything. And then waking up with that sense of just being in the world that way. And then connecting with more experiences like that over time builds a new pattern in us. So the resiliency is that. It's like when life comes at you, it's like you have that resiliency that's inside you. Hopefully
Okay.
that makes sense.
Oh, I think it makes so much sense, and it's so important, and you're speaking so much to my heart. And I just think about the late great Viktor Frankl, who is kind of my guy that I go to when I'm going through a rough time, when I can hear the negativity, kind of saying all the things about like, oh, you can't make it, you can't be here on this planet, blah blah blah. I think, well, Viktor Frankl did, and he talked about making up a meaning that empowers us, and we have the ability to look for the meaning or find an image, and often our dreams will deliver that image that is just beyond what our conscious mind could concoct, that can give us that way out or that way through. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm so looking for, I haven't actually met you in person. I don't think we've met in person yet, but
So either.
so I'm so looking forward to it. It's Saturday. It's just a few days away. All right. I see that we've got Jane Carlton. Before I bring on Jane, though, I just want to acknowledge for one moment that our event is coming out. It's coming. Oops, let me see. I just hit the wrong thing. Um, it's this Saturday, and we can find out all about it on StreamYard. I'm going to actually bring Jeff in to just give us a little commercial here about what's going on, how people can find out about the event, and then I'll bring in Jane, and then we'll talk about a dream. Sorry, I keep highlighting Marilyn. She's just so beautiful. I can't get rid of her. Okay. Uh-oh, Jeff, I can't hear you.
Okay,
There
how
you
about
go. That's great.
All right. Your best bet is to go to Eventbrite and or Google Dreams of Wisdom and Resilience. And if you Google that, it will take you to the Eventbrite site where you can purchase tickets. And the Eventbrite site will outline all of the workshops that we have going on during the day, and with a brief description of them. So it's a great opportunity to see what you would be getting into. So that's Eventbrite and Dreams of Wisdom and Resilience.
And it's so again, it's in Whittier. It's at Whittier College
No,
at the
no, no.
oh, okay, good. I'm so glad you're here to correct me.
Whittier First Methodist Church in the Wesley building. The
Okay.
address is on the Eventbrite site. It's 6725 Friends Avenue in Whittier, 90601.
Okay, great. And it's from 8 o'clock, so it's early. So you'll get to show up while you're still kind of in the hypnopompic
Dream
stage.
state.
stage. And it goes until 5 o'clock, and there will be books for sale. There will be workshops. There will be some experiential opportunities. So I'm very excited about that. Okay, so Miss Jane Carlton, welcome. I'm so happy that you were able to make it. So tell us about what you're going to be talking about. I know I always think of you as the jewel goddess, the lady of the diamonds and the rubies, the ruby in the rough. So what will you be talking about at the conference this Saturday in Whittier,
Yay!
California, regional IASD, asdreams.org? Take it away, Jane. What are you talking about?
Hi, Kelly. Oh my gosh.
Hi.
I'm so excited. It's going to be really fun. My gosh. So, well, Walter Berry, our friend, calls me the dream appraiser. And I've been a gemologist for 41 years, and I am a jewelry appraiser for my day job. And then I'm also a dream specialist, quite highly educated in that too, which is lovely. And so I'm interested in the appearance of dreams, appearance of jewels, gems, anything sparkly, both in life and in dreams. And the thing is that gems and jewelry are highly symbolic, just as dreams are. And so I'm looking for, when we see the appearance of a gem or a jewel or an item of jewelry in our dreams, a lot of times, especially if it's a gem, it brings a certain power with it, a certain amount of sparkle and energy with it. And so when times are tough, if we can find these moments of magic where it can be symbolized by something we've experienced in a dream, like I had a dream that I was dancing on little green, like peridot colored marbles in a dream once, and it had this effervescence to it. It was super fun. And that was in the midst of having a lot of those, problem solving dreams. Um, Resilience. So, how do we look at our dreams and our gems and our symbolic jewelry items from the standpoint of how it can be talismans for us, can bring a sense of power, can remind us that there's magic out there? And then the other thing that I'm interested in, and we'll talk about a little bit, is about how the field of gemology is a great has many metaphors or analogies for philosophical concepts. So, we all know that diamonds are the hardest gemstone, and many people don't know that jadeite, or actually nephrite jade, is the most tenacious. It's the toughest gemstone. So if we look at these two things, when I'm appraising an old piece of jewelry that has diamonds in it, many times I see little chips in the girdle, the edge of the stone. I see wear and abrasion and some chips in the stones typically. And so when I think about hardness versus toughness, do our experiences make us feel hardened, make us hard, make us walk around with a chip on our shoulder? Or are we carved by our experiences, including the really difficult ones, into a patina of resilience and tenacity, like a nephrite jade? So, um, finally, for the workshop, I'm gonna show slides of photomicrographs of the internal world of gemstones, which most people are not even aware of what might be inside their crystal or inside their gemstone. They're diagnostic for gemologists, but there's a universe in there. They're many times they're absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to show some images of that and finish my talk with a guided visualization into the heart of a gemstone. So if the attendees have a dream with the jewelry, have a dream with gems, we can travel into that, or we can just make one up on the spot.
I love you, Jane. You're so delightful and so wise. And I just think about all the many facets to the rubies, to the diamonds, and it's like that with dreams, and it's like that with you. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back, and we're going to pick a dream to work. So if you're watching or listening and you'd like to throw your name in the hat, then, or your dream in the hat, then you've got a minute to do that. Ready, go. See you in just a sec. Mark your calendar for September 16th, 2025 for the book launch of Dreamifesting. When you buy your copy of the Dreamifesting paperback or Kindle ebook, either in pre-order or on launch day, you get hundreds of dollars of free gifts to support you in Dreamifesting your very best life. Go to dreamifesting.com now to start dreamifesting your wildest dreams into reality. Hey, dreamy friend, did you know that people with deep and meaningful friendships live longer and healthier lives? And did you also know that besides hosting the Kelly Sullivan Walden Show, I also co-host the Anatomy of Friendship podcast with the amazing holistic health counselor and author, Joey Sutton. Joey and I have been besties for over 25 years, and on our show, we share our friendship formula for how to make and keep deep and lasting friendships. Download our free ebook at anatomy-of-friendship.com And you can also check out the podcast on Spotify and Apple iTunes. Anatomy of Friendship, because it takes a team to make a dream come true. Okay, and we are back, and I want to bring everybody back to the stage, and I'm going to put everybody on the spot. So it's so fun to do this. I've never done a show where I've had so many people at the same time that were the speakers, the guests. So thank you for being on this particular Virgin voyage with me. Okay, so because this was kind of a last minute show, I don't know that anybody is yet going to throw in a dream. So let's take one from us. Anybody got a dream that they think would be kind of a sample that we can play with? I certainly have one that I'll throw in if need be, but anything that kind of demonstrates the resilience of dreams or the difficulty that could be transformed. Any thoughts about that? Lauren.
This is a little vulnerable, but I had I don't know that I'd call it a nightmare, but it's clearly working early childhood material last night, and it woke me up really early. So it has that quality of a nightmare because I woke up with some anxiety, but I could also see the way that the dream was working on some early childhood stuff. So I'll give you the two parts of it.
Thank
Yikes.
you. Okay.
All right. So the first part is there's a pool in the backyard, only this pool is filled with plants. It's all overgrown. I don't even realize it was a swimming pool. It's got plants everywhere. And in one of the corners, there's what looks like a giant egg. And it looks like there's a second smaller egg connected to that. And on this egg is rust. Now, I grow lots of roses, so rust is one of the enemies that I find on roses. And this is really dark orange, powdery rust, and it's so thick that I'm repulsed and I don't want to touch it. I know it needs to be cleaned up before it spreads, but I don't want to touch it. And then an old client comes, and this is somebody I worked with for a long time, and it was beautiful work together with dreams and therapy. And she arrives, and somehow this pool gets cleaned up. I have this feeling that friends and this old client, people I really care about, have come and helped to clean this pool up. And now I realize it's a hot tub or a swimming pool, and I want to have it retiled, resurfaced. And this man comes and he has an expert who can retile it. And he says, you could take out a loan right now. You should take it out now because with our current government, it's going to become more difficult. And he says, it'll be really easy for you to get a loan to retile and refurbish this pool. And then my daughter, who's small in the dream, comes in and she's worried about taking a loan, using the money. But I say, no, we can redo this pool. And then I go inside and she's kind of mothering her younger brother. And this little boy who's about 4 starts playing with flour. And he's got flour all over his hands. He's getting it all over his face and his clothes, the way little kids do. And I say, would you like to bake something? And I realize I need to help steer him toward measuring cups, and maybe we'll follow a recipe. And that's the first part of the dream, and maybe I'll leave it there. Not hearing you.
How about that? Okay, sorry about that. Who is moved to ask a question or weigh in, dive into the pool of Lauren's dream? Jane.
Hi, Lauren. So, first thought is, how did you feel when you woke up?
Oh, I woke up super early, so I was not happy about that. And I immediately had an anxious thought and went to an anxious place, even though the dream kept moving toward a positive.
Yes. Would you like to share some of your associations? Only what you feel comfortable sharing.
Well, funny, in the dream, I thought I used to have a pool for my kids. I wonder why I let go of it or let it go to seed, so to speak. I did have a pool with my kids when they were little. And one of my associations is that this is a small pool, so it's not the ocean, so it feels like my personal unconscious. Um, it's got a lot growing in it that's very organic, but it hasn't been tended to. And so I maybe I haven't even tended to my dreams enough. I write my dreams almost every day, but I haven't spent a lot of time with them. So that may be a piece of it. Um, there is uh, there is something about the inner child for me. There's definitely the inner child and needing to play more, maybe needing to. I've been working a lot, working hard. So there's something about needing to renovate this pool of play with the inner child. Also, taking that natural instinct to get into things like the flower, and there's flower here, so there's a pun again about plants and flowering, but needing to structure it a little bit. So there's something about the relationship with my inner child, very young inner child too. I will just say I grew up with a lot of trauma. Um, uh, my childhood was filled with a lot of trauma drama. And so there may be some early stuff here too that needs to be cleaned up.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Lauren. Marilyn or Jeff, question for Lauren?
I have a question. Jeff, you look like you're about to lean in. I'm going to go for it first, if that's okay.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Lauren, I'm really curious because you brought up the word rose. And then at the end, or towards the end, there's flower. And I'm wondering about the bridge of association between the two. It's almost like bringing something from the earth into the kitchen alchemically, or there's something there about the inner child. And then I know there's a lot of positives to rest as well. Towards the end of something, it actually feeds the earth in some way. I don't know exactly how it works, but I have some association there. So I don't want to put too much in your inner world. And I'm curious about the bridge between rose and flower.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, rose for me is like sacred. I probably have 50 of them now. They are for me seductive. They're so beautiful. They invite us into more and more beauty. And I also think of the rose as sacred feminine. I know the white rose has that mythological tradition of the sacred feminine. And now that I'm mentioning the right white rose, that's also was the name of resistance. I wasn't thinking of that with the dream,
Oh,
but certainly
oh,
the white
wow.
rose was political resistance. And then the flower, I didn't think of a bridge, but um, the flower comes from the wheat of the earth, comes from Demeter, the earth goddess mother. And it brings this mothering into this alchemical space of the kitchen. So, yeah, that brings me into thinking about how mothering might be transforming and maybe my way of mothering my inner child because I was raised by wolves and not in a positive way, although it led me to be
hmm
extremely independent and creative in my own
Wow.
work as seeking independence and autonomy and thinking differently. So I'm very grateful for what I got early on. But I think about, I wasn't raised with an instinct to mother little kids because I was not parented. And so there's something maybe in the dream that you're alerting me to, which is bringing all of this plants, all of this beauty of the rose into the kitchen, and maybe bringing the aspect of Demeter, to the Earth Mother, to that small child.
Oh, I feel like I need to pop. Jeff, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm struck by that image of a giant egg, which to me is a wonderful symbol of the possibility of new life. And that my egg, I'm going to make this my dream, do a very IASD thing. If it were my dream, this egg is some future possibility that's right there in front of me. It has rust on it, which is a mold, a disease for roses. And once the rust is cleaned off by a group of my friends who come and clean up this whole area, the new life begins to happen. There's children playing with flour, making stuff. Yeah, to me, it's a wonderful image of community coming together. I'm struck by the association with our group together over these last 5 or 6 months as we have tried to birth this workshop, and coming together as a group, we've done some wonderful stuff, I think. So my dream.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Oh,
And it is, it's interesting because what does happen is it just magically transforms this pool by people coming together. And it's an old client too. And that very much has to do with community for me. It's the way that there's a non-hierarchical relationship that we have as we work with people's dreams. Um, it's a really beautiful relationship that evolves. And you just brought it in too, Jeff, with if it were your dream, that we're not experts on somebody else's dreams, but we're reflections. We each can take a dream and work with it. So I'm really appreciating that I brought a dream in that was bringing up a lot of anxiety for me. And I've got all these wonderful people bringing the richness out and the sacredness out and the healing out that's in the dream. So, I'm like being cooked like this, and that this is what happens in our community.
yes, it is. And may I jump into the pool and join you?
Please.
Okay. So I'm just struck by all the wordplay about the rose, and about you said, Lauren, the Lauren aspect of myself, because now it's my dream, said I was raised by wolves, and not in the good way. So I was raised in difficulty with what seemed like it would be the enemy of what I needed, the poison to this rose. So I was raised by this, and yet I rose. So it's kind of like the resilient phoenix that has arisen, that has rose. So that feels, it's like in spite of the rust, and in spite of all of the things that felt like poison, like the fire that just happened, like the way that some people feel about the P word, politics, whatever it is, on whatever side, because there's no sides in dreams, but it can feel like poison. Rust is poison to a rose. And yet the Lauren aspect of me, I have risen, I rose. And then I'm thinking about Jane, who's right here, and I could be completely wrong, but isn't patina a rust? Isn't I mean, I sort of have some of it in my background here with kind of the goldish rust color that kind of gets into the water that it and it's I always liked rust. I always thought the color is so rich and beautiful and when you said this it's the enemy, I was like, "Oh, what? Oh, okay. Well, some things get rusty and they need to be tended to." But so Jane, is there any bit to that about the
Uh,
patina, the old things?
That's a really great question, Kelly. Thank you. Yeah, so old jewelry will develop a patina. A lot of times you see gold, like say from the Victorian era, even from the more vintage era like the 60s and 70s. It will develop it's more of an oxidation, but I'm not a metallurgist, so I don't know the particulars. But it usually will, oftentimes, especially under the microscope, I see this lovely purpley color sometimes. And certain uh, old jewelry, antique jewelry, you do not want to repolish it and take off that patina. It'll lower the value. So, and if it were my dream, um, so yeah, so I was thinking about rust, and I was thinking about it literally, like what rust? I think it's iron rust, right? And so I'm looking at some of the nourishment pieces in here. So first of all, here's this possibility to redesign my healing body of water. Usually a hot tub is for like healing, right? You get in there and you relax. And yet there's some kind of a guide or helper there telling me, oh yeah, you could redesign what you're going to step into for your healing body of water in the imaginal or in waking life. But also the nourishing part about we need iron in our system. We need to have iron. And so, and it's an egg, and the egg has rust on it. So egg is also, it's rebirth, but it's also, or new birth. It's also a food. And then the piece at the very end where I'm teaching this lovely young boy how to cook something with flour, and I'm I have, if it's my dream and my life, and I know how to bake gluten-free food, I have
Mm.
special wisdom about that, about an alternative flour that can be used for nourishment that I know how to teach. And so there's a lot of, the stuff about the muckiness and the overgrown and all that stuff. And I love the plants and the flowers and all that. But I'm just really going with the nourishment. How can I further nourish myself and and in this alchemical vessel? I love that. So that's if it were my dream.
Oof, wonderful. Also wonderful. And thank you. But I think those are right on hits too. I tend to be low on iron and
Oh,
I'm going to
interesting.
properties of rust as well. Yeah, well, iron and eggs are protein, and I need a lot of protein. So it's a big
Yeah.
egg.
Oh, yeah. I'm right there with you. I just was at the doctor and it's like more iron, 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 and I'm such a water girl. The idea
Yeah.
of much more
And
watery.
I also love, Jane, that you were talking about, refurbishing this nurturing pool. And for me, if I bring in therapy for a moment, the star card's one of my favorite cards, and it's a woman stepping into a pool of water, and she's pouring water into the unconscious, and she's pouring water onto the land, so onto the conscious life as well. And it's really all about self-reflection that's super loving and compassionate. And it's also about really nourishing yourself by stepping into your own pool of consciousness. And so you're bringing that up and bringing up the idea of my thinking this dream forward, like refurbishing this pool in my imaginal world. And tile, the idea of tile is so delicious to me. I love tile the way I love roses. And I get so excited about getting to retile something. So I think I'm going to start to imagine how I will retile this pool. so that I can step into it. And the other thing is the idea that I really wanted to refurbish it for my children and to be able to play with that inner child. Because, I know a lot of us do inner child work. And for me, inner child work is playing with dreams, playing with therapy. I love my work. That's where my inner child and my adult self get very playful and creative. But if I'm doing inner child work when I feel like I'm trying to heal that inner child, it creates anxiety for me because there was so much disconnection with parenting. And so I get that this pool is being recreated for my inner children and me as an adult to play in.
I can't help but think, in spite of the fact that that being raised in a non-ideal way, like when you said the poison of the rest, when I think about this being the Lauren part of myself, I am so proud of her. There's such a love, there's such a loveliness, there's such a resilience, and that's what this conference is about, is going through what seems like the absolute worst poison, the absolute worst thing, and then coming through different, better. I think about the metaphor of the oh my goodness, what are the birds that have the big plumes, Jane? Oh my goodness, the
phoenix?
Peacocks.
Oh,
Peacocks.
peacocks.
And how they, I don't know if this is actually true, but how they eat the thorns. They're drawn to eat thorns, which are poisonous. And by absorbing them and metabolizing them, it's part of what creates the plumage, the big, bright, beautiful colors. So there's something about that. And I want to acknowledge Catherine Bell, who unfortunately her internet didn't allow her to come in, but she's been posting on Instagram, and she was saying, where is she? She said, interesting how I let my pool go to seed, and yet I get to play with the young boy, even without it, creating nourishment. And then she says something about especially the hot tub. So, what is that? Does that bring up anything for you, Lauren, as we start to wrap up this dream in a beautiful patina-like iron, rosy, tiled bow?
Hot tub certainly relaxes all the muscles. It's certainly asking me to just relax as I'm expanding my work. So that's one thing. And I also like the idea of being hot at this age.
Right.
But what I'm also really appreciating is that I'm getting my own medicine right now with all of you, because I think what happens a lot is that when we have nightmares or we're dealing with old trauma or current trauma, we don't see the medicine of the dream for ourselves. And I'm a dream therapist, but when I'm having my own, stuff cooking, I don't see it. And it's when I come into community that all of a sudden, all of the richness, the gems, I think about it as a diamond too, the multifacets of medicine and healing that's in the dream begins to be reflected to me. And that to me is just the deliciousness. This is like a hot tub. This is a pool that I love to be in. And I think that we don't realize that every dream, even the nightmare, has the medicine in it. And that it's always working to transmute the poison. I didn't even think of all the alchemy that's in this dream, and until you all presented it.
Oh, so beautiful.
May I share a quick synchronicity?
Yes.
The ad in between segments was you, Kelly, with Joey in the bathtub in Community.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just
In the
saying.
water.
And I was
Right.
just chuckling at that. It's the first time I've seen it. So anyway, Community, being in the
Yes.
tub together. Love it.
And that kind of goes back to this conference. And when we're in a community and we can bring some of our more difficult dreams, we can transform them into pleasure. Like Marilyn Manzi, you were talking about earlier, becoming pregnant with pleasure. It's a lot. I think it's just a little bit more, I don't know about easy, but I just imagine trying to give birth to something out in the wilderness all by yourself versus having some midwives and some hands on deck and loving people around to cool your brow and to help you push. It's like we're not, there can be pleasure. During the fire while I was evacuated, I was very hesitant to say this because there's no denying the incredible trauma and that is still going on for so many of my neighbors. But while I was evacuated in Whittier, where the conference is held, I was with my family that I don't get to see very often. And in community, I remember so many times thinking, this feels like my birthday. It feels like Christmas. It feels like something so sacred that has happened for those 2 weeks where I got to really commune with people that I love so much in such a deep way that it didn't take the trauma away, but it was just such a cognitive dissonance that there can be such beauty and pleasure alongside these very difficult, poisonous kind of things. And maybe ultimately it is all happening for us and it's not happening to us. Maybe, as I always like to shamelessly plug, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. My first thought is a crisis is a terrible thing to have, but it's even worse if you waste it. So we might as well do some alchemy, and it's easier to do that alchemy together. So I'm excited about this Saturday to be among you brilliant, beautiful, deep dish, rich, multifaceted diamonds, each of you, and roses. So one way that people can find out if you want to get in on some of this, because if you're a dreamer, if you're somebody who wants to benefit from the wisdom of your dreams, work a really important dream. And it doesn't have to be a nightmare, although we're kind of partial to them, or at least I am these days. But any dream will do. Bring it on Saturday. What else are you going to do? What else are you doing besides working a dream with these people? It's so rare that we get to come together physically in person. So again, people can go to Eventbrite. Like Wilson, you said people should, if they Google Dreams of Wisdom and Resilience, it'll take them right to the Eventbrite page, Dreams of Wisdom and Resilience. And if that's too hard, you can also go to asdreams.org and look at the conferences, click on that, and our conference shows right up. So on that note, Lauren, I think you get the final word since this was your dream. What note would you like to put us on here?
I'm just wanting to thank you all and hang out more with you. And that's it. It feels like I feel sparkly. I feel like this dream's been, rubbed a bit so that it's starting to have that patina. I can go back and work with it, and keep the shame, anxiety aside.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Jeff Nelson, Lauren Z. Schneider, Jane Carlton, Marilyn Manzi. I know Catherine, oh my goodness, was there sharing with us with experiential dream work. And we've got Walter Berry, who will also be there. And who else are the speakers? Jeff, you want to?
David Jenkins and Roger Martinez.
Okay.
And I want to thank you, Kelly, for this. This was a great demonstration of what we're going to do all day on Saturday, is a group of people getting together to do dream work.
Great.
Kelly, I just want to say a quick goodbye. I have a session at 1. I got to go.
Yeah, we're going. All right. Okay. To be continued, everybody. See you Saturday. Sweet dreams. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Kelly Sullivan Walden Show. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to like, subscribe, comment, and share it with your friends. If you'd like to pre-order my new book, Dreamifesting, go to your favorite online or brick and mortar retailer, then head on over to kellysullivanwalden.com dreamifesting. That's spelled DREAMIFESTING. That's where you input your order number, then redeem your bonus gifts. If you'd like to join me for the live recording of these shows, most Wednesdays at noon Pacific, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube Live. You can leave your questions or comments there, and you can also reach out to me on TikTok and Substack. Until next time, as you awaken to the power of your dreams, you make the world a lighter, brighter, more beautiful place, one dream at a time. Sweet dreams.